Welcome to online video lecture for the subject high voltage DC transmission. And the topic you would like to discuss is converter disturbances or faults in HVDC systems. Okay, so coming to the converter disturbances or the faults. So according to the origin of the malfunction, the converter disturbances can be divided into three broad groups. So those are the first one is the malfunction of valves or their associated equipment. So that is the main types are misfire, fire through, and backfire. So which occurs only in mercury arc valves. See, basically here we are going to discuss the uh, what are the types of converter faults, especially which is either through the external source or the internal source. So what type of faults can be appeared in the at the converter end or the disturbances which are occurred in the converters. Okay. So in that the first one we have it is broadly classified into three types. Among them, the first one is the malfunction. So this can be because of the misfire, fire through, and backfire. So misfire in the sense, so fire here. The meaning of the fire here in the sense, it is some sort of process or any action taken in it. So it doesn't mean that any fire accident or something or something arc or some flash over likewise. It doesn't mean that. Okay, so fire in the sense here some action. Okay, so misfire in the sense, so instead of triggering one switch, it may be, there may be chances of firing the other switch, so other switch may come into action. So that should not be happened in the converter unit in HVDC. Okay, so there is fire through, so that means the valve conducting. Okay, so and the backfire, so backfire in the sense, so instead of the operation which we require, so exactly opposite to that. Okay, so these cases and all appears only in the mercury arc valves. So in the previous session we have seen the circuit configuration there. So mercury arc valve. Okay. So especially if you go for these mercury arc valve thyristors, I mean the rectifier unit, so there may be chance of these type of converter disturbances. Next case is the commutation failure, the most common disturbances during inverter operation. Okay, so we know that in HVDC there exists the rectifier operation and inverter operation. So between the DC transmission line there, so this commutation failure occurs in inverter operation. So that means that the inverter station there. So this fault often follows other internal or external disturbances. So at this inverter end, so this commutation failure in the sense, there again this converter unit comes into the action. Okay, because there we are applying the forcer commutation technique, right? So whereas coming to the rectifier station, there may be natural commutation may appear. Okay, of course the natural commutation comes into action, but whereas in inverter station the input is DC there, so there we need to convert the DC into AC. Okay, so this commutation failure especially we can observe in the inverter side. Next, last one is the short circuits. So short circuits within the converter station. So although these faults are rare, they must be taken into they must be taken into the consideration in converter design. So whatever may be the cause, either some internal issue or external issue, so there may be the possibility of short circuits. Okay, so that also comes into action, and of course it is a rare case, extreme conditions. Okay, first we discuss into the we go to the misfire and fire through. Okay, so misfire is the failure to fire a valve during a scheduled conducting period, and fire through is the failure to block a valve during a scheduled non-conducting period. So what does it mean? So misfire in the sense, so instead of a scheduled conducting period in the sense, suppose we want to trigger the switch T1. Yes, if you want to trigger the T1, instead of that, so T2 is triggered there. Okay, so let us consider an example: T1, T2. Consider the two valve conduction mode. So T1 and T2 should be turned on. Okay, so instead of that, T2, T3 is fired. By offing the T1, T3 should be turned on. So instead of before turning off of the T1, so T3 may get turned on. So that this is nothing but the misfire. Okay. Next, the fire through. So fire through in the sense, So if the fire through is the failure to block a valve. So when we are going to block a valve, suppose if we want to make the switch turn off, so we need to avoid the gate valve. So if we consider a thyristor there, so because the valve, that means the gate valve is the only control terminal in the switch. So there, by controlling the gate terminal, so obviously we can control the switch there. Okay. So if we want to block it, so block in the sense we want to make the switch turn off. So again, we need some action there. Okay. So in case of inverter, in the case of the inverter, there we need some forced commutation. Okay. Coming to the rectifier station, it can be obviously the natural commutation. So this comes under so one of the issue. Okay. So that is misfire and the fire through. Okay. One thing is misfire. So instead of switching one thyristor, so there may be possibility of triggering the other one. And the other is we need to block. Block in the sense we need to turn off the switch. So in turn off case, what happens? It is under I mean off position. So off position in the sense it is blocking the voltage there. Okay, so a lot of stress will be across the switch. Next, these faults are caused by various malfunctions in the control and firing equipment. So that is the situation there. So misfire means if we go for any natural commutation or forced commutation techniques. So if the proper control strategy was not implemented, so there may be chance of misfire. Okay, so as we have seen, so the input waveform should be pure sinusoid. It means there should be constant voltage and the constant frequency. If there are any disturbances from the input side, so obviously it will allow to the uh, converter unit. So through the converter transformer. Okay. So if the input itself is not pure sinusoidal, so this type of actions may occur. So there may be chance of misfire or fire through. Okay. And the other is the firing equipment. So firing equipment in the sense whatever the external circuit which we are using for the gate valves. Okay. Right. Next, the effect of these faults is more critical when they occur at the inverter end. So that is the situation what I have given you. So rectifying that is converting the AC to DC is not a big problem there. So even for a very low cost also we can convert it easily. It's not about the complexity will be less when compared with the inverter operation. So this case will be seriously considered in the inverter station. Next, with rectifier operation, they do not constitute a serious disturbances unless they are sustained. Okay, of course, what I said before. So if the input is not clear there, so even though if we allow to the rectifier station, then it will be a problem. Okay, so but the severity will be less when compared with the inverter. Of course, if we sustain these oscillations and all, what are the what are the over voltages or something issues, power fault issues arised in the before rectification, so it can be suppressed then. Okay, so if it is allowed, that may be an issue. Next, in which case they can introduce voltage and current oscillations on the DC side. So that's what happening there. If a proper rectification was not done, it may leads to ripple content in the DC side, which is fed to the inverter station. So this will be carry forwarded. Okay. So here comes the schematic view of the 12 pulse converter unit. Of course, we have seen in the introduction of the HVDC. So here you can see the converter transformers. One is the star connected and the star to star, and another is the star to delta connected. So two series connected 6 pulse converter units. Okay. So the darkened part is nothing but those switches are turned on there. Okay. So let us consider the one unit here. See, suppose 1 and 2 are turned on. So what about the next case? 2 and 3 should be turned on. Okay. So here, what is the situation in the sense? One should be partially. I mean, it has to be slowly turned off. After that, T2 and T3, sorry, V3 will be come into action. So I'm mentioning that T3 in the sense switch T3, but the voltage across the switch is V1, V2, V3 respectively according to that particular switch. Okay. So look at here. So V1 and V2 should be turned on. Next, V1 should be closely turned off and V3 come into action. So you can see the exact darkening of that portion. So it is 80%. Of course, here it is 20% there. So because it is slowly getting turned off. Okay. Next, it has to be turned on. So just for the remaining Just to remind you about the HVDC layout, so I have considered this schematic, and no need to consider all these fault cases and all. Next session we'll see. I mean, next to this part, we'll go to the discussion. Okay, so just have an idea on this. I'm presenting this. Okay. Next, coming to the backfire. So backfire in the sense, so what it is exactly opposite to what we require. Okay, it is in the reverse direction. So let us see. Although backfires or conduction in the reverse direction can occur and have occurred on thyristors both as external flashover and as a failure of all thyristors in a valve. So this fault is only discussed with reference to mercury arc valves and is caused by combining the effect. So of course we have seen the earlier. So backfire, misfire, and fire through. This may be occurred if we prefer a mercury arc valve. So here you can have an idea of the picturization of the mercury arc valves. Okay. So it is somewhat different to the normal thyristor based rectifier unit. Okay. So earlier they have been used this mercury arc valve. So we are not going into in detail of the operation of this mercury arc valve. Just to have an idea on this, I have placed the figure here. Okay, so these are the anode parts, and we are going to use the liquid mercury cathode here. Okay, so and during the arc it conducts. Okay, so all this process and all later on we'll see that. So in this, if we prefer this type of rectifier units in which the mercury arc valves are used, so there may be chance of this misfire, backfire, and the fire through. So, okay, next, what does it mean? So both as external flashover and as a failure of all thyristor units. So suppose if any thyristor units failed there, unit in the sense that may be a 6 pulse, okay, or a 12 pulse unit, okay. So each consists of these mercury arc valves. So if they are failed to trigger, then there may be a chance of the reverse direction of current or voltage. So that's up to the fault level. Okay. So and also caused by the combining effect of high reverse voltage across the valve. So when this may be failed, so that is the case here. We need to analyze when this backfire occurs in the mercury arc valves. So these are the cases here. High reverse voltage across the valve. So high reverse voltage in the sense, suppose if it is in a blocking state, okay. So and it is under blocking if a reverse voltage is appeared across the switch. Suppose anode is fed with the negative terminal and the cathode is fed with the positive. It is blocking under reverse blocking mode. Simply we can say that it is under reverse blocking mode. Then there may be chance of the backfire. So it may conduct and leads to reverse direction. Next, high rate of rise of initial jump voltage. Okay, so rate of rise of voltage in the sense if it is lasting for a long period of time, it is under blocking state for a long period of time, so there may be a chance of jump of the voltage. Okay, so this is one of the turn on methods in the thyristors. Earlier we have seen that, so that the same cases arise here also. Okay, next, high rate of fall of current at the instant of initial voltage jump. Suppose so sudden rise of current. So simply we can say that if when the switch is initially triggered, so there may be rise of current. So this and all effects cause the backfire in the HVDC converter unit if we prefer a mercury arc valves. Okay. Next, the reverse voltage is higher during rectification, and therefore the backfire probability is much higher on this mode of operation. So what does it mean? The reverse voltage is higher during rectification process. Okay, and therefore the backfire probability is much higher on this mode of operation. So if the same cases, this is applicable only for the mercury arc valves. So we cannot see these problems or these issues in case of the thyristor one. And it is mentioning that the severity of the voltage level, I mean the magnitude of the voltage levels during the rectification process. If any of the cases what we have discussed earlier, if anything happened there, so the same here the reverse voltage will be higher. Okay, under rectification process. If the HVDC is under, if we consider a rectifier operation there. Okay, next, having lost its unidirectional conduction property, the backfiring valve together with the forward conducting valve on the same side of the bridge provides a path for uncontrolled face-to-face short circuit in the converter transformer. See, so backfire, suppose what happens after rectification, so DC is generated there. So because of this backfire, what happens? This DC is fed to the AC unit, similar to the, if we consider a transformer on DC. So we know the operation of the transformer on DC. What happens due to the I mean, irrespective of the, I mean, there is no rate of change of flux with respect to time. What happens? It may leads to more amount of current draw, and the windings may get damaged. Similar case here. So this DC again reverted to the converter transformer unit along with the each face-to-face valve. Yesterday, I mean, previous class we have seen that. So between number of switches to be turned on in a converter unit is 2. Okay, so we need to assess every time between the two valves what is the voltage there. Okay, along with this voltage, this conducting voltage, this DC voltage is also reverted to the AC, that is through with the help of, through the converter transformer. So that should not be happen. So if the backfire arises, okay, so it is reverted to the transformer there. Next, self recovery is not normally possible with backfires, and total blocking is ordered upon detection of a single fault. Okay, so if the backfire exists there, so we cannot control it there, and what will be the action? In the sense, we are going to block all the switches. Okay, so based upon the fault level and the origin of the fault. Okay, next, however, blocking is not always possible, and backup AC breaker action is often needed to clear the fault. So that is the case here. See, consider this diagram. Suppose if here any backfire appears, suppose this is fed to through this valve, it is reaching the transformer. So instead of reaching the transformer, so meanwhile the AC circuit breakers will come into action and protect these transformers, even though if any valve failed to block the backfire. So that is the meaning of that. Okay. Next, the current in the forward conducting valve during this condition reaches typically peak values of 10 per unit. So the same case, if the backfire is arising, so the switch which is conducting properly under healthy operation, if any switch is performing a proper action and it leads to forward current direction, so that is what which we require. So constant DC current there. Okay. So then if the same situation arises, the backfire arises, then that current may exceeds up to 10 per unit. So actually, if we prefer one per unit is our reference value. Suppose 10 amps, for example, consider it as a 10 amps. So it reaches to 10 times of the magnitude. So that means a huge amount of current rises there. Okay. Next, the combination of high voltage jump following current extinction in the forward conducting valve and the large current magnitude shortly before extinction often produces what is called as a consequential backfire in this valve. Okay, so if we cannot allow it, right, we cannot continuously allow the rising of the current. So the, for example, in the previous point we have seen, so it is exceeding the 10 per unit, we should not allow that. So before extinction, so that means before the stopping of the this current, so we need to what is that? So look at this, and for and the valve current magnitude shortly before extinction. So for that, what we need to, the ionization level met by the recovery voltage. So we need to perform certain action in order to allow the we should not allow the rise of the current. Okay, that is the meaning of this backfire in terms of the rise of current. Okay, next, this constitutes a most serious condition in mercury arc rectifiers, as the converter valves and transformers have to be rated to withstand large overcurrents prior to fault clearance by the AC circuit breaker. See, this constitutes a so this in the sense this backfire may leads to, these are the problems which are arises if the backfire exists in a HVDC unit. Okay, so for that what we need to do? So we need to as similar to the power system, suppose if any surges occurs, the same situation arises there, there is a sudden rise of current. So for the, in that situation, what we are going to do, so we are going to add the impedances, that is a surge impedance loading or any transformer leakage reactance or short circuit reactance of the transformer. Likewise, similarly to the HVDC station also, we need to add these external impedances or any other breakers and all. We need to consider all these issues and be prepared for the units, that is the either transformer units or breakers and all. We need to have a clear vision on that. Okay, so by considering all these cases, that is the extreme cases. Okay, right. Next, commutation failure. So next we'll go to the this second case, that is a commutation failure. This fault is the result of a failure of the incoming valve to take over the direct current before the commutating voltage reverses its polarity, so taking into account the need for sufficient extinction time. Right. So this fault is the result of a failure of the incoming valve to take over the direct current before commutating voltage reverses its polarity, taking into account the need for the sufficient extinction time. So earlier we have seen these cases arise in is concentrated on inverter station. Okay, so here you can see the direct current in the sense before commutating voltage. So in the inverter station we are going to convert the DC to AC, right? Okay, so before reversing its polarity in the sense, so let us consider one case, that is a positive. We need to generate a negative half cycle in the output side, that is the inverter station. Okay, so here there two terminals are there, that is a positive and negative. So look at this diagram. So here positive and negative will be there. So this positive and negative has to be converted into AC there. Okay, suppose if you want to generate a negative half cycle, so that is the meaning of this before commutating the voltage, it reverses its polarity. That is the meaning of that. Okay, so if you want to generate a negative pulse, that means we are reversing the input. Okay, this at this particular situation there may be chance of this commutation failure. Okay, next, so it takes taking into account the need for sufficient extinction time. So why the term extinction comes into the inverter action there? Because we know that rectifier, that is the, consider the alpha as the control parameter in the rectifier station, and gamma extinction angle is the control parameter in inverter. Okay, so there that is, those are the controllable and the important parameters in the HVDC and, sorry, in the rectifier and inverter stations respectively. Okay, so if we control alpha, that if the alpha is minimum, the output voltage will be maximum at the rectifier end. So if we consider inverter station, gamma is the extinction angle. Of course, based on that, the output voltage will be generated. Okay, if there is minimum extinction angle, obviously the output voltage will be maximum. Okay, so here we are discussing the inverter station. So this parameter is highlighted. That is the extinction angle. Next, a true commutation failure is due to varying conditions in the external AC or DC circuits combined with inadequate predictive control of the inverter extinction angle. Okay, so here uh, it is mainly highlighted that these commutation failures occurs because of the any disturbances on the AC side. AC side in the sense after inversion. Okay, if we are there, we are going to generate the AC. Of course, we are not entering into the PWM techniques there. And DC side, if the DC, whatever the rectified output voltage, so that is which is DC generated, if it is not proper also, it may leads to the commutation failure, because we are depending on the forced commutation techniques. Okay, so if the input is itself is not proper, so we cannot generate a, I mean, effective operation cannot be performed. It may lead to commutation failure. Okay, next, either a low alternating voltage, a high DC current, or both can prevent completion of the commutation process in sufficient time for safe commutation. Okay, so either low alternating voltage in the sense the output side, inverter output is AC there, if it is of low levels, and a high DC current, so the input side, if it is of high DC power, or both cases. Okay, so we can avoid this commutation failure process. Okay, so if any cases arise, that is this commutation failure arises in the inverter station, in that particular situation, the output voltage of the inverter, it should be low, as well as the input power should be high. So no issue with that if the input power is maximum. Okay, so maximum DC power is generated. Okay, next, in such cases, the direct current is shifted back from the incoming valve to the previously conducting valve. Okay, so in order to here completely we have a full control on this inverter station, because we are applying the forced commutation. So we can easily we can easily send it back in the sense each switch can be controlled over there, because the input is DC. Okay, so it's not similar to as the rectifier station. There the alternating pulses will be generated continuously, and lot of stresses will be there. So coming to the inverter station, the input is DC, so the severity will be somewhat less. If this type of failure comes, I mean the commutation failure comes there, so easily we can there may be the more chances are there in order to eliminate it. Okay. Next, look at the diagram there. So internal short circuit. So last case is internal short circuit, which may occur rarely. Okay, although rare, short circuits can occur at various locations of the converter station as shown in figure. So here have a clear view. So here completely we have discussed what type of short circuits may occur in the converter stations. Okay, so you look at the first one. So here the figure name indicates that the possible locations of internal AC to DC short circuit faults in a typical 12 pulse thyristor converter. So this here we have seen the 12 pulse thyristor converters, 12 pulse units there. So all type of faults they have discussed here. So first one A, the faults occur across a non-conducting valve. Okay, so here you can see V between V1 and V4. So V1 is not completely turned on and V4 is not completely turned on. So these are the non-conducting valve. And suppose if any fault occurs in this situation, okay, so how it is going to respond. Next case, faults across bridge terminals. Okay, so bridge terminals in the sense C after the rectification there. So here this is B. Okay, this represents the B. If the fault occurs between these two valves. Okay, next, fault across AC phases on the valve side of the converter transformer. So you look at the converter transformer. If the fault across the between the two phases, that is a double L fault. Okay, next, ground faults at a DC terminal of a bridge. Okay, so if look at the figure D here. So this is D there. So this is D. The DC terminal with respect to ground. Okay, so consider it as an LG fault. Okay, next, ground faults at an AC phase on the valve side of the converter transformer. See, that is a figure E. So you look at there. So at the converter transformer, one phase is connected to the ground. Okay, so it is also comes under LG fault here. All we need to consider is the origins. So what are the origins? Okay, of course, all comes under the short circuits, but where it is occurring. Okay, based on the distance and based upon the position of the fault, so the converter unit response will be differ. So earlier in the earlier session we have seen if it is occurred between the two valves, there leads to voltage oscillations. Okay, if it is occurring at the DC side, so how it is going to respond? What are the ripple contents? So if it's occurring at the converter transformer side, how it is going to respond? So all we need to analyze that. Okay, and the last one is ground faults at the station pole or DC bus bar. See here. So after this DC line has fallen on the ground. Okay. So again, there we have seen the DC. Current transformers are there. Additional AC circuit breakers are there. Okay. So for these each thyristors, we are going to use the additional protective circuits there. I mean the snubber circuits and some other heat sinks will be there. Firing switches will be there. Firing circuits will be there. And for each the switch we are going to be connected the ground part. See everywhere you can see the earthing. So this is the only term which can protect the system. 90% of the fault can be recovered if proper earthing was done. Okay, so everywhere you can see earthing. Okay, right, one by one we'll see. So these can be caused by mal-operation of earthing switches, deteriorating insulators, or surge arresters failures, particularly during transient over voltages. So short circuits when may occur if proper earthing was not done. Okay, so deteriorating insulators in the sense if the insulator starts degrading there. Okay, so failures in the surge arresters, if the counters in the surge arresters are unable to operate under the surges time. Okay, so then there may be chance of short circuits. Okay, next, a flashover across a non-conducting valve. So as shown in A. So the A in the sense the fault across a non-conducting. So between the switches if the fault occurs. Okay. Next, produces a phase-to-phase short circuit with a very large overcurrent on the conducting valve. Okay. So conducting valve in the sense this is partially conducted there. If any fault occurs very nearer to these two switches, what happens? There may be rise of the current. Okay, overcurrent, very large overcurrents may persist. Next, the largest stress is produced during rectification with a small firing angle delay, and the worst instant is immediately after the commutation. If suppose any fault occurs, okay, and what about the process in the HVDC means if it is performing a rectifier action. So rectifier action in the sense if you want to generate a maximum DC power, so the firing angle should be very minimum. Okay, so earlier we have seen. So if the small firing angle delay means so that the maximum output will be generated, and at the other cases the worst instant is immediately after the commutation. So that means when the switch is completely closed there, if the fault occurs, what happens? So as shown in figure V1, see, look at there, see here it is partially conducted and the fault is very nearer to it. Okay, so in this case the current in the valve V3 is only limited by the transformer leakage reactance and the system source impedance. Okay, see, uh, because V1 and V2 are turned on. Okay, next what is the case? V2 and V3 should be turned on. Okay, so here V1 is already turned on there. So because of this fault or any case, suppose it is completely closed there, and V1 and V2 will be come into action. Next instant V2 and V3 should be turned on. So under this situation, this V3, this switch V3 should have the capability to block this uh, fault. Okay, so it should have the probability to withstand the voltage. Okay, blocking voltage. Okay, so that depends upon the thyristor ratings. Okay, so and of course the transformer leakage impedance. So meanwhile, so if the current rises there, so even though the transformer should not uh, go to under any insulation breakdown or some other issues. Okay, it has to withstand for a short period of time. Okay, so that comes under only if we consider the transformer leakage reactance, so which is of course similar to the power systems. So next, bypass actions. Okay, so this we are have seen in the blocking and unblocking of the HVDC. So look at this. Many of the valve faults are of temporary nature and can be eliminated by a temporary absence of conduction. So similar to the transients in the power systems. Okay, so many of the faults it will be existing for a small period of time, so around some microseconds or milliseconds. Of course, the fault is a fault, but minor changes will be appeared in the power, I mean system parameters. But obviously, it is going to be cleared by itself. Okay, whereas in mercury arc schemes, this is achieved by the use of a bypass valves across the converter bridge. Suppose if we prefer a mercury arc valves, okay, and the same situation arises, okay, then how we are going to bias the fault? So with the help of this bypass valve. Okay, so first before that I would like to give a small idea on this bypass. Bypass in the sense we are biasing the voltage here. Suppose if any fault, look at this diagram. So this is a bypass pair 1 and 4 bypass in the sense we know the condition that in a converter unit any two switches of the same leg cannot be turned on. Okay, so these two switches can never be turned on either in this leg also. 3 and 6 should not be turned on at same instant. 5 and 2 should not be turned on at same instant. Okay, so if we are turning on these two switches in any leg, so then that leads to if we forcefully turn on the switches, then that is used for a bypass action. Okay, so we need to bias the voltage. Okay, so the different methods are there: short pulse firing, long pulse firing. So different methods are there. Just simply have a glance on that. Just we are going to bias the switch. That itself. Okay, and by using the external source, so by using the other mechanical switches, and we are going to bias the bridge so that overall the bridge can be protected from these overcurrents. Okay, so just have this idea, and we'll see the discussion. Next, when it is necessary to stop the bridge from conducting, the bypass valve is fired, and while the main bridge valves are blocked. See, look at here. If you want to protect the bridge here, we need to conduct these switches so that we are going to bias enter the current, before entering into the bridge. Okay, so that means here we are creating a short circuits. Okay, if we create the short circuit there, the bridge will be protected. Okay, next, once a bypass valve has fire, it can be blocked only by first interrupting its current so that its grid can regain control. So when we are going to the bypass, I mean a short circuit case in a sense based upon the current levels. Okay, if we consider a mercury valve thyristors. Next, in the case of a rectifier, assuming that its bypass valve is carrying current, when the bridge valves are restarted, a positive voltage is established across the bypass valve, the cathode of which becomes positive with respect to its anode. The bridge valves then take over the current from the bypass valve, which stops conducting since it cannot conduct in the reverse direction. So I'll give an explanation on this. In the case of a rectifier, assuming its bypass valve is carrying current, okay, consider this bypass valve in the sense, suppose uh, these any of these switches are carrying the current. Okay, so if we consider 1 and 4 as a bypass valve, okay, obviously these units, I mean these switches are used for inverter action or rectifier action. So if we consider a rectifier unit there, okay, suppose if we prefer these two switches for bypass action there. Next, when the bridge valves are restarted, a positive voltage is established across the bypass valve. See, suppose if we want to regain it, if we want to bring back it to its original position, again it should generate a positive voltage. So look at this. See, consider this. Suppose in case of the rectifier part, if these two switches, 1 second, right. Suppose if we consider these two switches as a bypass valve, and after the fault clearing, if we want to bring back to its original position, again it has to generate a positive voltage there. Okay, next, look at here. A positive voltage is established across the bypass valve, the cathode of which becomes positive with respect to its anode. Okay, so in case of the reverse, I mean if we consider in the inverter station part, okay, the bridge valves then take out the current from the bypass valve, which stops conducting since it cannot conduct in the reverse direction. This comes under the in case of the inverter. Okay, earlier I have shown you the rectifier part. If you want to unblock the bridge, sorry, if you want to block the bridge, see, coming to inverter there, if you want to unblock, okay, so here unblock in the sense, there we need to create one is positive voltage and the other part is a negative voltage there. Okay, so immediately, so the response will be creating some complexity in the waveform. So here I have not mentioned the waveform there. If after the uh, unblocking there, suppose if these two switches are removed from the bypass action, okay, so it has to bring back to the original position. So we need to generate a positive pulse and other is negative pulse. So as we are well known that these arms will be creating for the positive voltage and other is for the negative voltage there. Okay, so here immediately, so it leads to some complexity in the AC waveform. So that is the meaning of that. Okay, next, in the case of the inverter, the bypass valve will not stop until its cathode is made positive with respect to its anode. So that is the source station. Okay, so that is the source point. So where we have started in a sense. Okay, so the necessary reversal of the polarity may be accomplished by a temporary advance angle beta to greater than 60 degrees. So these comes are the modes of the operation there. So that is one of the limitation. Okay, earlier we have seen for alpha, beta, mu. That is beta is the advance angle, mu is the overlap angle. What should be the limitations of that? Based on the limitations only, we are going to bring back to the original position. Okay. Next, a combination of a bypass and two series switches permit bridge isolation for more permanent outages. So a combination of bypass in the sense, so this is the combination there. Here the switches what we are using for the rectification or inversion will itself acts as a bypass pair along with the additional bypass switches. Okay. Next, coming to the same bypass action in case of the thyristors. So here we have considered for the mercury arc valves. Okay, and now we are coming for the thyristors. Okay, the absence of backfires in the thyristor valve permits a simpler bypass scheme without a need of a bypass valve. So, okay, so the absence of backfires in the thyristor valves. So backfires earlier we have seen if it is running in the opposite direction. So this itself is useful for blocking the backfire instead of entering into the DC or converter transformers. Okay. Next, instead, one of the main bridges arms, so here that is one leg, provides the necessary bypass. Okay. The same action, of course, what we have discussed in the Mercury arc valve part also. A healthy arm pair can always be found to relieve a temporary disturbance in one of the bridge valves. Okay, so this is the uh, healthy arm pair. So let us consider either this pair or this pair, that is 3, 6 or 5 to anything. So this will be helpful to clear this bypass pair. Suppose if we are using as a bypass pair, if you want to clear from it, so this will be helpful for that. Okay. Next, the blocking of a converter through bypass pair involves the same series of operation in principle as blocking through a bypass valve. So that is the blocking of the main firing pulses and the simultaneous injection of continuous firing pulses to a bypass pair. Okay, so the same thing happens here. So if you want to unblock this bypass pair, that means suppose we need to conduct the 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, like this action. So again, what happens there? So see here, the fire, it depends upon the firing pulses. So here in case of the inverter, it depends upon the gamma. Okay, so how we are completely, we need to unblock the bridge. Okay, so there is a certain process how to unblock the bridge and all. So we need to increase the firing angle. Okay, so coming to the inverter, we need to extend the gamma. Okay, so maximum gamma should be there so that the output voltage will be minimum, and slowly we can remove this bypass pair. Okay, so slowly we can remove this, and later on we can reduce this gamma. Okay, so that is one of the methods in unblocking of a bridge, and the same point here they have highlighted. So depending upon the firing pulses. Okay. The selection of blocking sequences applicable to bypass pairs is particularly important to give the faulty valves the best chance to recover. Okay, without restoring to the operation of the isolators associated with the converter. Okay, see, what does it mean? How we can choose this bypass valve? So why we have to choose only the first case? It's not about the thing. So it depends upon the origin. So earlier we have seen. So look at this diagram. Suppose when the fault is very nearer to the conducting valve, suppose one is conducting there. Okay, then obviously we are going to choose these two valves. Okay, suppose if the fault is very nearer to 3 and 6, and 3 is in action, then we are going to prefer 3 and 6 as a bypass pair. Okay, suppose 5 and 2, so 2 is in completely on. Okay, then we are going to prefer 2 and 5. Okay, if not, if suppose 1 and 2 are in action, okay, then we can prefer 3 and 6, because next instant 3 is partially on there, so either 3 and 6 also preferred. Okay, so that means what I would like to conclude here in the sense, depends upon the origin of the fault. Okay, it is not mandatory that first and fourth should be used as a bypass pair. Okay, next, look at this. The criterion for this selection, that means the bypass pair selection, after a repetitive failure, is that none of the valves of the selected bypass pair should have been involved in the fault. Of course, the other criteria is that the selection of the switches, even if continuously if the fault is occurred, so suppose 1 and 4 are used as a bypass pair, and 3 and 6 are continuously never involved in any type in the bypass pair, then we can prefer this 3 and 6 also. Okay, so that is the meaning of this one. Yes, although this will be satisfied only by one bypass pair, there are various alternatives according to the selected blocking instant. So completely we are not depending on this bypass pair itself. We are relying on this external switches also. Okay, next. Ideally, bypass action should be carried out immediately after the fault using the valve which was the last to conduct, and it is opposite. Example, if the at the instant of blocking signal valve 4 is commutating to 6, then the bypass pair to be used is 3 and 6. So what I said before, suppose see here 4 is commutating to 6. See, 4 is commutating So next what happens after 4, 5 should be turned on. Okay. So next after 5, 6 should be turned on. Here 3 and 4 are under action. Let us consider 3 and 4 are under action. Okay. Next after 4, 5 will be conducting. Suppose 5 is partially conducted, 3 is completely on, then we can prefer 6 here. So that 3 and 6 will come into action and it acts as a bypass pair. Okay, next. Last one. The selection of the bypass pair and the blocking sequences is thus simple with the exception of double successive commutation failure. So double successive in the sense we are using the one is the bypass pair and the other is the external source. So this is the case. So this is the bypass pair and this is the other source which is used for biasing the bridge. So this is the double success in the sense. Double successive commutation failure. So with this fault, two of the valves involved in the fault form a bypass pair, and each one of the remaining two valves belongs to either of the two remaining bypass pairs. The simple criterion used to select the bypass pair for a single commutation failure cannot be applied in the case. So this they have gone in detail of that. So that means two remaining bypass pairs. The simple criterion used to select the bypass pair for a single commutation failure cannot be applied. So let us see here. One second. Say suppose if these two fail to operate, let us consider 1 and 4 are failed to operate. Of course, it will be never happen. It is also extreme case. Then obviously for the next action, suppose 4 is under operation. So next it will be 5 and 3 is turned on. So then we can prefer 3 and 6. So this will also come into a bypass pair and this will also come into the bypass pair. So slowly we can short circuit all the switches so that the bridge can be protected. Okay. So if once the switch is closed means what is happening, the voltage across the switch will be 0. Okay. So no switches will be coming to any failure. Okay. So that is a way of biasing the switches so that we can avoid the short circuits. Okay. Next. Generally, however, not all the 4 valves will be faulty or directly responsible for the occurrence of the fault, and there will be at least one bypass pair through which blocking will be possible. As I said you before, so all the bypass pair cannot be selected. So that depends upon the fault level or situations. So it is not mandatory that every leg should be acted as a bypass pair. So that depends upon the fault severity. Okay. Next. The selection of the most suitable bypass pair for blocking depends upon the cause of the fault. So as I said you before, the origin depends upon the origin, depends upon the distance, depends upon the valve conducting. I mean the process. If it is under a rectification process, so based upon the switches only, we can select the bypass pair. If the fault detectors do not provide sufficient discrimination of the initial cause of the fault and it is subsequent development, the selection of the bypass pair and final blocking will be slower. See, that is the case. If suppose whatever the analyzers or power analyzers or whatever the protective devices, that means current transformers or potential transformers, if they fail to recognize where is the fault and what is the source of the fault, of course, the main issue is that where the fault occurred. So if it is failed to detect, then the process of selection the bypass pair will be getting delayed. Okay. Next, the resumption of normal operation simply depends the restoration of firing pulses with suppression of the blocking pulses. So again, suppose if we want to bring back to the original position, so we need to, so our case is that there should be minimum firing angle, okay, or minimum extinction angle in case of the inverter. So completely, so if you want to bring back, we need to depend on the amount of pulse generation. So that means the short pulse firing or the long pulse firing. Okay. So inverter deep locking by these means is much simpler than in the case when a conventional bypass in the sense the mercury arc valves. Okay. Since the momentary rectifier action by advancing the firing angle, beta is not required. So as we have seen in the control of power in a DC link, so where beta is also one of the control parameter which is used for generating the DC power at the rectifier end. Okay, either we can control the alpha or either we can use the beta. Okay, we can see the equation also in terms of beta. So if you want to bring back to it, so it is different in case of the mercury arc wells. So the conventional here in the sense the mercury arc type. Okay, so all the thing is that mercury arc wells has a greater disadvantages if any of these cases arises. Okay, so because of these reasons only they go for this thyristor based rectifiers. Okay, so that's all about the converter faults or converter disturbances. Hope you have understood the session. Thank you.